ship. Overhead, the Italian Air Force aerobatic team. Below, a 120,000 crowd had been soaked to the skin by violent rainstorms. But now there was one big question on everyone's mind, whether to use wet or dry tyres. On the front row of the grid, James Hunt made a late decision to switch from the grooved rain tyres to the slick, dry weather tyres. James driving his McLaren M26, a winner of course at Silverstone, a front runner in Germany until engine failure intervened, and second fastest at this Austrian Grand Prix. Fastest of all in practice, Niki Lauda was undecided. Did he think the race was just a gamble?
It's wet now and it seems to dry out, and it's a very difficult decision to take now which tyres to start on. I don't know yet.
Did pole position give Lauda an advantage over Hunt?
I don't think it is at all for the moment, because nobody knows how the weather is going to be. If it's going to dry out and we start on rain tyres, we have to change, then you are in the middle of traffic. Or if it starts to rain again, so nobody knows anything.
Mario Andretti was third in the John Player Special. The American had taped over his nose to protect it from the spray, and he was very definitely starting on those slick, dry tyres. So too was fourth fastest man, Germany's Hans Stuck in the Brabham Alpha, but his teammate, Britain's John Watson, usually up near the front of the grid, was back on the sixth row. One thing was certain, the track was still very, very slippery, as this shot from Hans Binder's ATS Penske vividly indicates. Whoops, and Hans continued despite that moment. As you can see, the track is dry in some places and wet in others, so it was an agonising choice of tyres for those drivers. Lauda did join the six starters, and only 4 cars, including Gunnar Nielsen, were on wets, as the field rolled forward for an unspectacular start. Niki Lauda made the best start in front of his home crowd, and remember, he has never won his home Austrian Grand Prix. 26 Grand Prix cars up that steep hill, with Lauda and Hunt neck and neck. The new tight, hellish chicane. First Lauda, second it was Hunt, third was Andretti, and fourth was Reutemann, and the rest of the cars crammed through that tightened corner. There's Niki Lauda leading, second James Hunt, third Mario Andretti, and Mario Andretti was a man to watch in this opening lap. That chicane tightened at the spot where Mark Donoghue was killed 2 years ago. There was no chicane 2 years ago. A year ago they put in a chicane, and this year they've made it even tighter to slow down the cars on this very fast circuit. Once the fastest circuit in Europe. Now, because of that chicane, it is slower than probably Monza or Silverstone. Lauda first, second James Hunt, but just watch Mario Andretti. And those early attempts to pass Hunt from Andretti just weren't on. But then Hunt faltered and Andretti went through. And then, using the fantastic brakes of the Lotus, Mario Andretti took the lead from Niki Lauda and immediately put on the power and left the Ferrari as if it was standing still. There was no doubt about it on this slippery first lap. Mario Andretti had absolutely no peers. Andretti twitched a little bit, Lauda second, James Hunt third. Hunt, of course, in the latest McLaren M26, not the M23 he used last year to win the World Championship. Andretti first, Hunt breasts the hill alongside Niki Lauda and takes second place from him. Fourth is Jody Scheckter in car number 20. At the end of the first lap, Mario Andretti in a long lead. Second James Hunt, and third was Niki Lauda. And Mario's teammate Gunnar Nielsen in the JPS number 6 was also carving his way up through the field. He flashed by Patrick Tambay's ensign and then set about Niki Lauda's Ferrari. Gunnar Nielsen, of course, from Helsingborg in Sweden, still owns a haulage contracting business. Winner in the Belgian Grand Prix earlier this year. There's Hunt. And there's Scheckter, and there's Gunnar Nielsen overtaking Niki Lauda. But no sooner than Nielsen had passed Lauda, and he disposed of Jody Scheckter. And then he set about James Hunt. Certainly no respecter of world champions is this Swede. By lap 4 it was a Lotus 1-2. Andretti was first. Second was Nielsen. Third was Hunt. Fourth, Jody Scheckter. Fifth, Niki Lauda. Sixth, sneaking through there, Hans Stuck. Hans Stuck now in front of Patrick Tambay, the young Frenchman, in only his third Grand Prix, but going very, very well in 7th place. But there were many other battles to entertain the crowd. Hans Stuck and Niki Lauda roared along side by side until the twitching Martini Brabham literally forced past the Ferrari and into 5th place, and that was on lap 6. And there is Hans Stuck with the stars around his crash helmet. And Arturo Mazzario, first time in a shadow, not driving his normal march, past Niki Lauda too. That's Mazzario in car number 16. And Shadow's number 1 driver, Alan Jones, also passed Lauda, and soon the Australian started to move up dramatically. Third in that group, Jochen Mass in his McLaren. And as they dived through the impressive swoops of this superb circuit, Lauda had been relegated to a lowly 10th place. And then it was 11th when Jochen Mass found his way round the Ferrari. But not unexpectedly, Nielsen had to stop at the pits and switch from those wet tyres onto the dries, and that dropped him from 2nd to 12th place. Meanwhile, teammate Mario on slicks was running away with it, but suddenly his engine let out a cloud of smoke. You see it there. The engine had exploded, and Andretti was out, just coasting along, and James Hunt flashed by to take the lead. So Scheckter was now 2nd, Stuck was 3rd, and a hard-pressing Alan Jones was 4th, and going very hard in that shadow. There Jones looking for a way past. The shadow, of course, American financed, or American and Italian financed in fact, but built in Northampton, very near to the factory where the Cosworth Grand Prix engines are built. And Jones was driving very aggressively indeed. Alan Jones, originally from Melbourne, Australia, but now lives in Highgate, North London, where his wife Beverly runs a guest house specially for Australians. Alan joined the Shadow team, of course, after Tom Price's sad death in South Africa. And this Shadow car, you see it there, whipping inside Hans Stuck's Brabham. This Shadow car designed by Tony Southgate, who left the firm to join Lotus, but is now back with the team, which is owned, in fact, by the ex-US Army intelligence officer, Don Nichols. Alan Jones driving superbly, and now shadowing, literally shadowing, Jody Scheckter's Wolf Ford. There, a back marker in the lead of that group, that's Hans Binder. Jody Scheckter leading the group ahead of Alan Jones, and now just watch Alan Jones. That fast right-hander, definitely the fastest car on the track through there. He whips past Jody Scheckter and now lines up to overtake Hans Binder's ATS Penske. Gunnar Nielsen was moving up, and Niki Lauda never saw which way he came. So Gunnar Nielsen, after that pit stop, really moving up the field. And by lap 31, Gunnar was starting to press Jody Scheckter for 3rd place. Nielsen shaping up to pass Scheckter. Over the crest of the hill, Nielsen dives out to the inside, and a beautiful overtaking manoeuvre from Gunnar Nielsen. His car twitched a little bit on the exit of the corner, but that was okay, and Gunnar Nielsen was going well. But it was not to last. Just watch Nielsen's car. Suddenly it slows, smoke comes out of it, and Gunnar Nielsen's race was run. His engine had blown like Andretti's. Now Lauda was back in 3rd place, and finding Emerson Fittipaldi an additional hazard at that chicane. Nielsen had to walk back to the pits. His race was run. Then Patrick Tambay's 7th placed ensign boiled up, to be followed very quickly by James Hunt's leading McLaren. A blown engine had put paid to another Hunt victory, just 12 laps from the finish. It simply isn't James Hunt's season, is it? So on lap 44 we had a new leader. Shadow star Alan Jones was leading for the first time in 31 Grand Prix starts. Most of Niki Lauda's rivals had dropped by the wayside. One who hadn't, Jody Scheckter, who was one place behind him. James Hunt walked back to the pits and still found time for a smile and a wave to the crowd. But then Jody Scheckter, after a controversial clash with a back marker, finished up in the bushes and into the fence, and Jody Scheckter's Wolf was out of the race. John Watson, last year's winner, was having an unhappy race and was down in about 8th place, but on the very last lap, put the fastest lap of the race. But all Alan Jones had to do was reel off that final and vital lap, the most important lap in his career. He crested the hill for the last time and roared on towards the checkered flag. It was to be his first ever World Championship win, the first two for the hard-trying Shadow team, and the first for an Australian since the days of Jack Brabham. So Alan Jones won the Austrian Grand Prix. And Niki Lauda, well, he came home second, some 20 seconds behind Jones. But of course, he consolidated his World Championship lead. But the man of the moment was Alan Jones, and holding the spectacular winner's spoils, Alan spoke to Austrian TV's Helmut Zwickel.
Have you had any problems? Hatten Sie Probleme?
No, the car was absolutely fabulous. It never faltered. We had a lot of troubles in practice.
Ja, wir hatten viele Probleme im Training.
And we had a sneaking suspicion that for the race it would be good.
Ja, you had a special suspension. Sie hatten eine spezielle Aufhängung für das Rennen.
No, we just changed the body to get the weight down, and we altered the weight distribution a little bit.
Ja, wir änderten die